Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today I'm going to review two fragrances, two scents from Fragrance World that both weren't very impressive when I tried them for the first time a couple of months ago. I gave them enough time though, enough time to macerate, settle down, and both of them actually changed for the better. The fragrances that I'm going to review today are called Baravia Man Intense, this one being inspired by Bulgari's Man in Black, and the second one is actually from Athoor Al-Alam, which is a sub-brand of Fragrance World, and it's called Anaqeed, and this one is inspired by Parfums de Marly Layton exclusive. I'm going to start with Baravia Man Intense. The fragrance comes packaged in this black colored box with golden accents, which is pretty similar to the original fragrance, so I'm not going to show it that into too much detail. But on the front you got the name of the fragrance, the concentration, which is EDP, the bottle size 100 milliliters. On the top there's a Fragrance World logo. On the back you get some additional information along with a sticker of authenticity, and on the bottom there's a production date stamped on, which reads April of 2024. And once you take out the bottle, this is how the bottle looks. Somewhat similar to the original, but different enough for me to be comfortable showing it to you. Again, the same black and the golden color combination. The cap is plastic, feels really cheap and light, but at least it's a snug fit. And all around the packaging is nothing spectacular. The note breakdown of Baravia Man Intense has the following notes. The top notes are natural rum and luminous spices. The middle notes are tuberose, iris absolute, and leather, and the base notes are benzoin, tonka bean, and gaiac oud. I'll show you the sprayer in action and then I'll tell you about the scent of Baravia Man Intense. The sprayer actually is, not bad, but one thing that I've noticed with my sprayer is that it can be a bit leaking. I don't know if you're able to see this, but it spits a bit of juice somewhere on the bottle itself, which is not nice, because you can get, fragrance all over yourself if you're not, careful enough. But onto the scent of this fragrance. Now, this fragrance is very heavily inspired by Bulgari's Man in Black, which is one of my all-time most favorite designer scents. I absolutely love the original. And Baravia Man Intense actually is pretty similar, but pretty similar on the dry down. The opening is slightly different. The opening is very spicy, feels kind of fresh a little bit. There's something fresh, maybe slightly citrusy in the opening, feels quite spicy as well. But right from the opening of this fragrance you also get a ton of the sweetness. This fragrance has ambery and vanillic sweetness, and I also get quite a strong tobacco note that's not listed in the note breakdown of this fragrance. It's an enjoyable opening really, but the magic happens on the dry down. On the dry down this fragrance becomes a lot more warmer. The spices they take more of a back seat. The little freshness that this fragrance has in the opening completely goes away when this enters its dry down. And on the dry down, the scent is all about the mix of the tobacco, the leather, the sort of the rum note, that boozy note that this fragrance has, along with all the sweetness from the vanillic, the ambery sweetness, and the touch of sort of tonka bean sweetness slash powderness. On the dry down, this actually is pretty similar to the original scent, becomes a very warm, very addictive, and a very sophisticated masculine scent. Really nice scent profile. When it comes to how close this fragrance is to the original, as I said, the dry down is very similar, like super similar, but in the opening this feels a little bit different. It feels a little bit more spicy, feels a little bit fresher, feels a little bit lighter. In the opening this feels like an EDT flanker to the original fragrance, something along those lines. It's you can definitely recognize the DNA in the opening, but the dry down is where this becomes really close to the original fragrance. When it comes to performance, initially I wasn't very impressed. I was getting about 6 hours, but fast forward about 2 months that I've given this one to sit and macerate, and now the performance is about 7 hours, maybe slightly over the 7-hour mark, with nice soft to medium projection in the first about hour and a half. Projection wise, it's pretty similar to the original fragrance, which has never been known for being beastly when it comes to projection. Longevity wise, this is a little bit less of a performer compared to the original, but still well above average in in my books, excuse me. When it comes to the price, I paid about 22-23 euros to get this fragrance, which in my opinion is pretty decent deal, because nowadays the original tends to cost quite a lot, like any other established designer brand. And when it comes to versatility, a definite fragrance for the cold weather, a nighttime fragrance that has a little bit of an age factor, a little bit more of a mature factor, but all around, it's a versatile fragrance for the colder season, let's call it that. And now onto the second fragrance featured in today's video, Anaqeed from Athoor Al Alam. The fragrance comes packaged in this sort of a dark blue colored box with again golden accents. On the front you got the name of the fragrance itself, the concentration, EDP, the bottle size 100 milliliters. On the top and on the back you get some Athoor Al Alam branding, a sticker of authenticity, and on the bottom there's a production date. In this case it's February of 2023, so quite an old bottle. And then once you take out the bottle, this is how it looks. It comes in this dark blue color with black and golden accents once again. The note breakdown of Anaqeed, at least per what I was able to find online, has the following notes. The top notes are almond, mandarin, bergamot, orange and watery notes. The middle notes are civet, geranium, rose, gardenia and water lily, and the base notes are guaiac oud, lotion oud, vanilla, coffee, sandalwood, patchouli, oak moss, amber and pink pepper. So quite a lot of notes, and actually some very important notes are missing from this note breakdown. I'll show you the sprayer in action and then I'll talk about the scent of Anaqeed from Athoor Al Alam. The sprayer here is actually a little bit better compared to the one that I just showed you from Baravia Man Intense. And now onto the scent of Anaqeed. If you are familiar with the latent scent, the latent DNA and the latent exclusive DNA, when you spray this you'll immediately pick up the very strong similarities between this and the original scents. This opens up darker than the original latent, just like latent exclusive opens up, maybe even a little bit darker than latent exclusive itself. The opening has a tiny bit of freshness. There's some citrusy freshness, some fruity freshness, quite a lot of sweetness as well, but also there's quite a lot of woodsy sort of a feel out of this fragrance in the opening. That just the guaiac oud is pretty strong, at least to my nose, in the opening of this fragrance. That just gives this fragrance a sort of a dark opening, darker even compared to the latent exclusive flanker. There's a hint of that almond note. There's quite a lot of vanillic sweetness right from the opening, but the opening is really sort of like a darker take on the latent DNA. When this goes into the dry down, it mellows up a little bit. It's still a very woodsy fragrance, but it becomes a lot softer and also quite a lot sweeter. There's an apple note, a sweet apple note in here. The vanilla note is pretty strong on the dry down. There's a ambery sweetness as well. A hint of that coffee note, that just adds a bit of an interesting touch to the whole scent. But all around, very on the dry down, very similar to latent and latent exclusive. All around a very enjoyable scent. When I first got this, the opening was slightly rough, but again about 2 months of maceration have helped with that, and now the opening is a lot softer and actually a lot closer to the original fragrance. And when it comes to the closeness of this to the original, as I said, you'll immediately pick up that this is being inspired by latent and latent exclusive, especially latent exclusive, but the opening is a little bit more woodsy, slightly darker compared to the original fragrance. On the dry down it actually becomes pretty similar. When it comes to performance, Anaqeed again wasn't a very sort of heavy performer. When I first got this fragrance I was getting about 6 to 6.5 hours, but fast forward 2 months and now the performance is close to about 8 hours, which in my books is very acceptable, especially considering that this is a pretty cheap fragrance. Also this will project moderately, even close to, let's call it, to strong projection in the first hour and a half up to 2 hours. Price wise I paid about 25 euros to get this fragrance, which again I think is a pretty decent deal considering that this costs about the 10th of the price of the original fragrance, and it has nice scent profile and also has good performance. And versatility wise, this is marketed as a unisex fragrance, and nowadays this can be perceived as a unisex fragrance, but definitely leans to the masculine side and definitely more of a cold weather scent and more of a nighttime scent. And now a few final words about the two fragrances featured in today's video, Baravia Man Intense and Anaqeed from Fragrance World. As I said in the beginning of the video, when I initially got those two fragrances, I wasn't very impressed when I first tried them, but I gave them enough time to actually macerate and develop a little bit, and they turned out to be very nice after some maceration. Bavaria Man Intense is a very good take on what's a great original DNA, in my opinion. One of my most favorite designer fragrances, Bulgari's Man in Black. And actually, especially on the dry down, this comes really close to the original. Offers very decent performance, decent quality, and all around I think it's a really nice alternative for people who want to get close to the original scent but on a tight budget. And then when it comes to Anaqeed, another fragrance that really evolved nicely with time. When I first got this, it was really rough around the edges, especially in the opening, and also wasn't a very good performer. But fast forward 2 months and now the opening is a lot softer and feels a lot better, and the performance has actually turning into a very decent performing fragrance, up close to 8 hours of performance with nice projection. Again, a really nice and budget friendly option for those of you who are trying to get an alternative for Parfums de Marly Layton exclusive, which costs about a tenth of the price of the original. Both fragrances with time evolved really nicely. I love the originals of both inspirations, and I really like both these two, so both of them will get a huge like from me. And so guys, in today's video I reviewed two scents from Fragrance World, Bavaria Man Intense and Anaqeed. I hope that you found this video interesting or entertaining. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.